Okay, thank you for joining us on the bright side. Once again, we're talking hormone health. We're talking about hormones, what they are, hormone health in general, despite our medicalized and profit-driven healthcare system. As it turns out, hormone health is under our control. We control our hormones via the thoughts we think and the feelings we feel and the foods we eat and the nutrients we take in. Breathing and respiration and oxygen play a role, certainly, so does water. But basically, it's the thoughts we think, the feelings we feel, and what we ingest, including oxygen, that control, that modulate, that mediate the kind of hormones and the amount of hormones that are being secreted. As we get older, hormone health tends to get compromised. There's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just the fact that we don't make hormones. It's also the fact that our cells don't respond to hormones. And having our cells respond to hormones is just as an important strategy as taking hormones in. And we'll be covering that here in the next few days. If you're considering hormone replacement therapy, whether you're a woman or a man, these days men are using hormone replacement therapy, testosterone. And if you're watching TV, certainly you have seen commercials from lawyers who are trying to get together class action lawsuits for people who have had heart attacks from using androgel or other testosterone replacement. No surprise to me as a pharmacist, if you're playing around with your hormones pharmacologically, in my opinion, you're playing around with fire. If you're considering HRT, hormone replacement therapy, please understand that you've got control points where you can control your own hormones that don't have anything to do with doctors. And you might want to consider leveraging these control points before you resort to pharmaceutical hormone replacement therapy. Natural, so-called natural. There's no such thing really as natural hormone replacement therapy. They call it natural or bioidentical. It's no such thing. But in any case, if you're considering HRT, bioidentical, natural, or pharmaceutical, you may want to consider leveraging these other control points of hormone health. The thoughts you're thinking, the feelings you're feeling, and the foods and the nutrients that you're taking in. As we said on our last program, there's various types of hormones, and you can classify them in different ways. You can classify them by their chemistry, by their biochemistry effects. You got short-acting hormones. Those are peptides and other water-soluble substances. You've got long-acting steroid hormones, and then you have super-duper short-acting substances. Those, I think, are the most fascinating, these super short-acting substances. Some of them come from fatty acids, and others come from amino acids. That's how we started talking about this whole hormone subject. We were talking about the amino acid arginine, and I haven't forgotten that. We're going to go back to arginine because there's a very important short-acting or ultra-short-acting hormone that comes from arginine. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk about some fatty hormones, fatty ultra-short-acting hormones. As we said last week, when people talk about their hormones, they're typically talking about steroid hormones. These are a type of hormone that floats around through the blood. They're called endocrine hormones when they float around through the blood. Not all endocrine hormones are steroid hormones. Some of them are made from amino acids. Some of them are protein-like, and they're water-soluble, unlike the steroid hormones like estrogen and testosterone and progesterone. They all come from cholesterol. But this other class of endocrine or blood-traveling hormones, they're not fatty, and they don't come from cholesterol. Things like thyroid hormone or insulin or melatonin, these are all examples of hormones that are peptides or proteins, and they float around in the blood. And, by the way, not all hormones travel around through the blood. And that's where it really, really gets interesting. Some hormones get squirted directly from where they're produced into various openings of the body, especially in the digestive system. We call those hormones exocrine hormones. They go outside the blood. They're not in the blood like endocrine hormones. Endo meaning inside, exo meaning outside. Exocrine hormones, these hormones that don't use the blood, like the endocrine hormones, these are substances that make things happen. Remember, hormone means I make it happen. It literally means I arouse to activity. I make it happen. And exocrine hormones, like endocrine hormones, are make-it-happen chemicals, except these exocrine hormones are secreted right into parts of the body, especially the digestive system, and they don't even use the blood. There's a really interesting kind of exocrine hormone we talked a little bit about last week, and that's an exocrine hormone that comes through the skin. We call those pheromones. And pheromones have a reputation for being sexual attraction hormones. These are hormones that are constantly being secreted by human beings to communicate messages to other human beings, or by animals to communicate messages to other animals. If you have a cat or you have a dog and you think you're keeping your house really clean and you're getting rid of all the cat hair or the dog hair, you should understand that via these pheromones, it's almost impossible to keep your house or your apartment or wherever you're living clean from your dogs and cats, because they're constantly secreting pheromones, communicating to other animals and communicating to you, communicating to human beings, the mood of the animal or what the animal needs, etc. And by the way, if you ever heard that dogs can smell fear, this is really what we're referring to. Dogs are smelling the pheromones of human beings. That there are fear pheromones, scared pheromones, or there's love pheromones, and these are the kinds of communication that occur between animals and animals, between animals and humans, and between humans and humans. They're hormone communications, pheromone communications, and these are all exocrine hormones. All right, when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about yet another type of hormone that doesn't get secreted in the blood, but rather gets pumped out of a cell, and it's really, really interesting stuff, and has a lot to do with nutrition as well. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. Okay, let's see. We're talking hormones, hormone health, endocrine hormones, exocrine hormones, pheromones, sexual attraction hormones, communicating hormones that get secreted out of our skin. But there's a really cool hormone that doesn't get secreted into the blood. It doesn't get secreted into an area of the body like the digestive system or externally out of the body like pheromones do. But rather, these type of hormones get pumped out of a cell, and then they activate neighboring cells. Or, even more interestingly, these type of hormones will get secreted out of a cell and then do a big U-turn and activate the same cell that secreted it. How cool is that? You've got hormones, cells that self-activate by secreting their own activating hormones. So they'll secrete a hormone. That hormone will either communicate messages to cells around it, or it'll do a U-turn and actually activate itself via kind of self-activating mechanism. These kind of hormones are called autocrine hormones. Not exocrine, not endocrine. They're called autocrine hormones, meaning they activate themselves. Or sometimes they'll call them paracrine hormones, meaning they activate stuff around them. Para means next to. So you got these paracrine/autocrine hormones, and they're really, really cool. They don't have to travel very far because they're only activating the cell that is secreting them, or cells that are in the immediate environment, next door neighbors in essence, or they're activating themselves. And because they don't travel very far, their effects are super, super rapid. They're not long-acting hormones. They're not short-acting hormones. They're ultra-short-acting hormones. Exocrine hormones and endocrine hormones, they got to travel. But paracrine hormones/autocrine hormones, they don't have to travel, and this allows their activities to happen really quickly. It allows cells to be super responsive to the environment. They can act instantly via the effects of these autocrine or paracrine hormones. This is especially important when it comes to the immune system, the inflammatory system, and the circulatory system. And blood vessels and opening and closing and high blood pressure, low blood pressure, or immune activity or inflammatory activity is particularly dependent on these kind of hormones, these autocrine or paracrine hormones. These type of signal molecules also are very important for the central nervous system, for the brain. They're called nerve hormones in the brain, or some people call them neurotransmitters. They got names like serotonin, or adrenaline, or dopamine, or cannabinoids, like the kind of stuff that you find in pot, marijuana, except you find them in your brain too. The active ingredient in marijuana is actually a type of hormone. It's an endocrine, or it's a autocrine hormone, or a paracrine hormone. It's called a cannabinoid. Endorphins, pain-relieving hormones, are a type of paracrine hormone. These specialized hormone substances, these paracrine or autocrine hormones, whether they're working in the brain or they're working in the inflammatory system or the immune system, are super important. In fact, they may be the most important chemicals in the body because they allow cells to communicate with each other in a local fashion without depending on the brain, without depending on the blood, without depending on the glands. A cell simply secretes an autocrine or a paracrine hormone, and almost instantly an effect occurs. A muscle cell will contract, or a nerve cell will fire, or a blood vessel will expand, or an immune reaction will ensue. One of the most important consequences of these types of activations, or this type of signaling, paracrine/autocrine signaling, is inflammation. And you know we always talk about inflammation, microinflammation, as being the core of the disease process. So given the importance of this inflammatory reaction, given the importance of the inflammatory process when it comes to health and non-health, autocrine and paracrine signalers, or autocrine and paracrine hormones, are exquisitely important when it comes to keeping us healthy, or when it comes to our diseases, when it comes to our sicknesses. In fact, I would venture to say there's not a single chronic degenerative health challenge that we confront that doesn't have somewhere some kind of autocrine or paracrine dysfunction, or an autocrine hormone or paracrine hormone deficiency. And this is really important because we have responsibility over these deficiencies, and by the foods we eat and the nutrition we take in, we can control these paracrine or autocrine hormones. One of the most famous of these types of hormone chemicals are substances called prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are so-called because they were first discovered in the prostate gland, but they're found all over the body. Every cell makes them. Every cell responds to prostaglandins. These days, even doctors recognize that prostaglandins are major players in controlling pain, controlling inflammation, digestive health, the health of the heart, the health of blood vessels in the circulatory system. In fact, prostaglandins play a role in every single biochemical function in the body, and they're especially important when it comes to immunity, autoimmunity, and inflammation. All right, hang tight. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. 855-660-4261 is our number. Got a couple lines open for you. We're coming back at you with more good health information right after this. Don't go away. I got a letter from Cynthia off our website, brightsideben.com. Hi, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which also has caused me to lose some of my hair. I've lost about 35 pounds in about a year and a half. Congratulations, Cynthia. That's awesome. 35 pounds in a year and a half. She exercises, take vitamins, eats healthy. Can you suggest what else I can do to have my hair grow back? I also have my diabetes under control. I'm on high blood pressure medications. See how all these things work together. Diabetes, high blood pressure, hair loss. She says she's not taking any diabetic medicine, wants to know what vitamins and vitamin supplements she could take. She's taking 2,000 milligrams of biotin. Unsure if this is beneficial to me. Chances are it's not. Cynthia, biotin's an important vitamin, but too many people are using biotin as some kind of cure-all or panacea. And not only is biotin not a cure-all or panacea, no vitamins are a cure-all or panacea, not that to say they're not absolutely vital and important. Here's the deal with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It is a diabetic insulin issue, a blood sugar insulin issue. And even though Cynthia says her diabetes is under control, we don't really know that, because the way doctors will tell you if her diabetes is under control is just by measuring blood sugar. And let me tell you something, blood glucose and blood sugar are one of the silliest ways to determine whether your diabetes is under control or whether you're diabetic or not. You got to check your insulin, not your sugar. If you have PCOS, you got a blood sugar problem. Technically, blood sugar problems are called dysglycemia. And this is really, really important. Why is it important? Well, it's not just important if you have PCOS, it's important for everything. All diseases, all degeneration, all unpleasantness, all health challenges can be backtracked and should be backtracked to the triangle of disease, and especially the foundation of the triangle of disease, which is the digestive system and the blood sugar system. So if you got PCOS, Cynthia, you want to be focusing, number one, on your blood sugar, and forget what the doctor told you about about having or not having your diabetes under control. If you're on high blood pressure medications, it isn't being controlled, period. Because high blood pressure is a classic manifestation of dysglycemia, of messed up blood sugar. So for PCOS, you got to control blood sugar first. How do you do that? Well, first thing you do is stop eating the sugar. And that means bread and pasta and anything that breaks down to sugar. And you don't have to necessarily have zero tolerance. You can also just wean yourself down to lower levels of sugar and eat more protein and eat more veggies and eat more good fats. Make sure your body's processing fats. Use the sweeties from Longevity. And in addition to biotin, which is one of the B vitamins, use the entire B complex of vitamins. B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B12, folic acid, in addition to making sure you're getting enough biotin. Where do you get all those wonderful B vitamins? You're beyond tangy tangerine. Cynthia, if you're not sipping on that BTT all day long, start. The second thing you want to do is make sure you're processing your fats correctly. We're going to talk about that a lot tomorrow, because fat processing, fat malabsorption, and fat digestion and fat intake is a very important, plays a very important role when it comes to inflammation and anti-inflammation via prostaglandins, which we'll talk about tomorrow. So make sure you're on your ultimate EFAs, and make sure you're digesting and processing your fats. Use your ultimate enzymes and apple cider vinegar after all your meals. Apple cider vinegar, by the way, on its own has wonderful anti-dysglycemia properties, can help protect you from diabetes. In addition to the sweeties, you also want to make sure you're using your Beyond OsteoFX, which will get you magnesium, which is also important for controlling blood sugar. And then last but most certainly not least, get on the BioLumin Nightly Essence, Cynthia. 3 capsules in the morning, 3 capsules at night. That will help you process your fats. It will help improve digestive health as well. And you might want to consider the Jordan Rubin Beyond Organic products, and even doing a Swear V fast periodically once a month or maybe once every few weeks or so. We talked about the Swear V 3-day cleanse. I call it the fast, but it's a 3-day cleanse. It's a 3-day fast. We talked about that yesterday on our phone call, our weekly phone call. If you're interested in joining us on our weekly phone calls, we do them every Sunday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Dial in number 605-562-3140. Participant access code 444-973-POUND. So to get that hair growing back, make sure you're using your Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients, correcting digestive health issues. You may want to throw in a little zinc. 50 milligrams a day of zinc picolinate can be helpful for PCOS and also helpful for all hormonal health issues, especially if they involve hair loss. Thanks for writing, Cynthia. Appreciate it. Our number today is 855-660-4261. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. Let's go off to Tampa and welcome Stan to The Bright Side. What is up, Stan? Good morning.
Hey, Ben. How's it going?
Doing good, bro. What's cooking? How can we help you?
All right. So a couple weeks ago, my mother had contracted hives.
Okay.
And so for a couple weeks, I was help treating her. And around the second week, it got bad enough to where her skin started hardening from her neck, around her neck, a ring around her neck, and down her arms.
She had hives for 2 Hang on just a minute, Stan. She had hives for 2 weeks?
Uh-huh.
She's doing something to herself over and over again. Hives are an allergic reaction. That's not supposed to last 2 weeks. Do you want help with that, or is there anything? Do you want to continue?
The question is that she went and got the methylprednisone. They gave her a shot, and she's starting to take the pills. Yeah. And as I understand, the steroid, it's a hormone mimicker.
Well, it's a pretty awful steroid drug. It mimics cortisol. It mimics stress hormone. Under conditions of stress hormone secretion, your immune system shuts down. Why do you suppose that your immune system would be suppressed by steroids, by steroid hormones like cortisol? Not all steroid hormones, but cortisol. Why do you suppose cortisol would suppress the immune system? Well, I don't want to put you on the spot here, Stan, so I'll just answer for you. Is that okay? Or do you know?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so cortisol is an emergency hormone. It tells the body there's some kind of emergency or some kind of stressor. Under conditions of emergency, the immune system becomes gratuitous. It becomes unnecessary. It becomes irrelevant. Because under conditions of emergency, an immune reaction is a long-term reaction. The immune system is a long-term kind of defense system. You don't need it when you have an emergency. So the body will shut down immunity, and it will redirect energy into other parts of the body. This is not a good health strategy. You guys, it's not a good idea to shut down your immune system. The only person or group of people who think it's intelligent to shut down the immune system are doctors. Now, I don't want to be just beat up on doctors, but of all the stupid things they do, and there's a lot of stupid things they do, that's the dumbest. You don't ever want to suppress your immune system. You want to figure out why it's activated. So you get hives, that's a sign of an immune or defensive response. The body's defending itself against something. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, let's just shut down the immune system. That seems like a good thing to do. Well, it's not. What you want to do is you want to figure out what has gotten into the body that sparked or triggered this defensive reaction. We call that hives. So hives is a defensive reaction. Intelligence would mandate that you say, well, what is the body defending itself against? What's the offending agent? Doctors will mandate, well, let's just shut down the defensive response. So if you want to do the intelligent thing, you don't take prednisone, you don't take methylprednisolone, or whatever your steroid drug is. You figure out what's getting into the system. Now, the fact that your mom has had this reaction for a couple weeks tells me that she's doing the same thing over and over again. By far and away, the largest or the most important contributor to a defensive response like hives is foods. Okay? How old's your mom, Stan? About?
65 range.
65. Okay, so she's got to know she has some kind of digestive health conditions going on. Something is percolating in the digestive tract. She's got to have a history of food allergies. Typically, hives at the age of 65 don't just appear spontaneously. Keep in mind, by the way, if she's on prednisone at long term or a steroid drug in long term, she's running higher risks for all kind of horrible diseases, including shingles, including cancer, including inflammatory health problems, and including digestive health problems, because the cortisol will have a suppressant effect on the digestive system. So hang tight, because I'll tell you exactly what to do here via nutrition as well as food strategies. So don't go away, Stan. If you're on hold, hang tight. We'll get to you when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 855-660-4261 is our number. We're coming back after this. Okay, welcome back to The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. 855-660-4261 is our number. Stan, let's go quickly here. I want to get to a couple more calls. Stan, are you there?
Yeah, if I may lay some groundwork real quick for you, Ben, because I want to make this time valuable for us and your listeners, because, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So If I may, she's never had this before. Okay. I treated it for 2 weeks naturally, with all the stuff I read. I did my due diligence, read about the 3 types, the normal, the acute, and the chronic, and other types of hives. So I was treating her, and after the second week, she was influenced to go ahead and go to see a doctor in urgent care, and they gave her a shot right away, and the pills, and
the
today
hives
she
went
just
away?
started the pills.
Did the hives go away when they gave her the shot?
The hives are still there. She still has some itching, but she's doing the, treating. So this is only day 1 of the pills. She's only taken 2 today, and then she took the shot yesterday. I told her to wait. They told her to take it right away, and I said, no, let's wait, see how this shot does, because you don't want, from what I read, you don't want to keep taking these steroids. And I'm totally opposed. I'm a naturopath.
You shouldn't need them.
Myself.
You don't need them, bro. You don't need them. Hives are an allergic reaction. Allergic reaction is a defensive response. Defensive response requires finding out what the offending agent is. The offending agent can only be one of the route of the offending agent into the body can only be one of 3: through the skin, through the nose, through the mouth. Unless she's an IV drug user, it's not going to be through the skin. Now, if she has a topical reaction, she could use a laundry detergent or something called a contact reaction or contact dermatitis. That happens, but it's unusual. She could be breathing something in, mold or some kind of allergen. That happens, but again, if she doesn't have any respiratory symptoms, that's unlikely. So that really leaves only one place. Now, at the age of 65, chances are that this one place is where her offending agent is coming into the body through it. It happens to all of us. Our digestive systems start to break down over time, especially if we don't know what we're doing, and most of us don't. So chances are really good she ate something. All right. Now, if she's had it for 2 weeks, she's probably consistently eating something.
I think she's eating tilapia a lot, man. She eats a lot of tilapia.
Well, hang on, Stan, my friend. Let me finish, okay? We don't know what it is. We can guess. That's great, and it's if you don't have any other choices, you can guess. But it's much better to try to figure it out by doing what we call the elimination diet. That's where you stop eating for a day. And she's going to feel better right away once she stops eating. Then she obviously can't stop eating forever, so she reintroduces foods one at a time, starting with her favorite foods. That's how you do the elimination diet, you guys. Not just for Stan, but for everybody. You stop eating for a day, and then you reintroduce foods, and you start with your favorite foods, and it helps if you only select one type of food so you can see what's causing it. What's going to happen is when she eats a food that's causing the reaction, all of a sudden she's going to start to get, her symptoms are going to come back. She's going to itch, she's going to have the hives back. Bingo, she'll know what it is. Now, simultaneous with the elimination diet, it's important that she starts to focus on digestive health. If she knows that she has digestive symptoms, she's ahead of the game. If she knows she has gas or bloating or heartburn or loose stools or constipation or any of that, she's ahead of the game. Then all she has to do is link her digestive symptoms to foods and then eliminate those foods. If she doesn't know she has digestive symptoms, look for them. Find them. Guaranteed they're going to be there. At the age of 65, it's next to impossible, unless, as I say, you've been taken, you've known exactly what to do your whole life, and most of us don't. At the age of 65, it's impossible not to have some kind of digestive symptomology. So she's going to start to, she's going to do the elimination diet, and then she's going to start to patch up the gut. Now, there's wonderful supplements for patching up the gut, for restoring digestive health. The key player is going to be the Biolumin Nightly Essence or probiotics, good bacteria. That alone can make a huge difference. Good bacteria are very important for helping support the immune response. They're the opposite strategy from steroids, which shut down the immune response. Use the Biolumin Nightly Essence, 3 capsules in the morning, 3 at night, and have her start to indulge or enjoy fermented foods, things like sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, pickled beets, etc. Kefir, yogurt, if she likes that, if she's okay with dairy. So that's the fermented food component. The fucoidan Z, or the Z radical, which is algae, brown algae, can help coat and soothe the digestive tract and help repair the digestive tract if she's got leaky gut issues, and most people do, most of us do. And then also for algae-like substances, things like noni and aloe vera, which have a kind of gummy or gooey quality like the fucoidan Z does. That can also help coat and soothe the digestive system. She may want to enjoy some bone soup also, which can have a coating and soothing effect on the digestive tract too. And then last but most certainly not least, have her on the straight out Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients, sipping on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Later on down the road, you're going to want her on the Ultimate Enzymes, using apple cider vinegar and then lecithin and bile salts and all the things we talk about as being important for the digestive system. But for now, it's good enough that she's on, does the elimination diet to eliminate problem foods, uses the probiotics, the Biolumin Nightly Essence, gets on the Z radical, and then stays on the Healthy Start Pack, making sure she sips on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and then later on down the road, start to work with some more digestive health strategies. Now, I got to move on because I got a bunch of calls here. Do you have anything else you want me to ask, or did that help you?
Is there anything topical you recommend for the itching?
If you want topical relief for hives or for itching, get something called Benacort. Benacort is a cream that's made up with Benadryl and cortisol, and it's wonderful for soothing itching. You don't want to stay on it for a long time. It's just for emergencies, just quickly for like a day or 2 days, but it will the itching will subside just by using the Benacort cream. Of course, if she's still attacking her body, or is the stuff getting into the body, as soon as she's done with the Benacort, she's going to have the hives again, she's going to have the itching again. So ultimately, you're going to want to get to the root of the problem, but just for the misery, and it is miserable. Hives are an absolutely miserable experience, especially at night. You go nuts. Benacort cream can have a nice suppressant effect. Benadryl is an antihistamine, so it will suppress the immune activating chemicals, and the cortisol will also have an anti-inflammatory and anti-itching effect as well. Benacort cream. Does that help you?
Thanks, Ben. You've been a great help as always.
Praise God, buddy. Thanks so much. Have a beautiful day. All right, Rose, what is going on? How you doing?
Hi, Ben. God bless you.
Thank you.
I will always enjoy your show, and forgive me, I called today the Power Hour, and I mentioned that I always hear Joyce, and in that moment I was so nervous I forgot to mention your show that I always hear. I'm faithful there.
You're forgiven. Thank you.
But anyway, you know, and for me, you're a blessing of the Lord. I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a dear my husband and I, we have a dear friend that he's only 63. I know that you may think he's older, but, 63.
He's not old. 63 is young.
Yeah. And so anyway, he had a stroke. And this was a few years ago. And now, and I know there's a relation, well, aneurysm is a type of stroke, too. He said that he had some weird symptoms the other day, and he went to the doctor. And they did some kind of testing, and they found out that he had a brain aneurysm. And the reason that's so sensitive to me, because I lost a dear relative. She was a cousin that I loved like the sister, and she died. She was 40, and she had a brain aneurysm. And I was so upset because the doctor did not do the procedure. It was a scan. And I did the research, and I was outraged,
Well, here's the deal. First of all, stroke is when blood supply is cut off to part of the brain. It's like, instead of a heart attack, it's like a brain attack, basically. Blood flow stops to the brain, and if blood flow stops for any more than 10 seconds or 5 seconds, you can cause permanent damage to the brain. An aneurysm's a little different. An aneurysm's kind of like a bulge that happens in blood vessels, and it's caused by blood vessel weakness. And aneurysm is problematic because as it gets bigger, you can get a rupture, and then you can get a stroke, and that can be a really big problem. So an aneurysm itself is just sort of a bulge in the blood vessel, and it's a sign that the blood vessels are weakened. It's just like osteoporosis of the blood vessels in the brain. It's the same idea. Blood vessels have a certain resiliency and hardness and flexibility that is a result of collagen, and bones have a certain strength that's a result of collagen, and in the skin, your skin has a certain tautness and firmness as a result of collagen. So aneurysm is like wrinkles in the blood vessel, a wrinkle in the blood vessel, if you will. It's all caused by weakness in the blood vessel following a defect in collagen and fibrous protein production. Remember, all disease is cell disease. All the things that go wrong in the body are the result of cells not doing what they need to do. In the case of an aneurysm, the cells that make the fibers that keep blood vessels strong are weak, they're not nourished, they're toxic, or they're suffocated. All disease is cell disease involving suffocation, starvation, toxification. So what do you do for an aneurysm? The same thing you do for osteoporosis, the same thing you do for wrinkles, the same thing you do for everything. You get on the Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients. You make sure that you're drinking your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You especially make sure you're using protein. For an aneurysm, you might want to throw in the glucogel caps also. The glucosamine can help you can help produce collagen also. Make sure you're using your digestive enzymes to help process proteins and amino acids from your foods, correct digestive issues. Use the Biolumin Nightly Essence. Make sure you're deep breathing, practicing your deep breathing techniques, and please make sure you're stabilizing your blood sugar. Health is simple, you guys. It's not complicated. They want us to think it's complicated, so we depend on them. But you don't need anybody. All you need is good nutrition, good oxygen, and make sure that you're using your Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients on a daily basis. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks so much for listening. We're going to continue talking about hormone health tomorrow and prostaglandins as well. Have yourselves a wonderful, awesome, spectacular, beautiful day. We'll talk to y'all later, folks. Bye for now.